Turkey has blocked talks on Finland and Sweden joining NATO. Both Nordic nations have formally submitted membership bids. New members need unanimous agreement from the 30 current states. But Turkey is standing firmly against. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan accuses Finland and Sweden of harbouring Kurdish terrorists. Another dispute is over sophisticated weaponry.
For Turkey, the issue could actually be about US fighter jets. Turkey was dropped from the F-35 Advanced Fighter Jet Development Program in 2019. This was part of a US sanctions packet imposed on the country after it bought a Russian air defense system. Many believe Ankara is now hoping to pressure the US into selling it new F-16 fighter jets instead, an extremely controversial topic in Washington. Another issue: in 2019, Sweden halted weapons deliveries to Turkey after it attacked Kurdish People's Defense units in northern Syria and launched an offensive there. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan could consider this grounds enough to block the start of NATO accession talks for Sweden and Finland, possibly destabilising the alliance in the process. It would play into President Putin's hands. It would send a signal that there's no unity within NATO, the wrong signal at precisely the wrong moment. In New York, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken and his Turkish counterpart Mevlut Çavuşoğlu met in an attempt to find a compromise. There, Çavuşoğlu made Turkey's position clear.
Turkey has been supporting the open door policy of NATO. Even before this war. But with regards to these possible candidates or already candidate countries, we have also legitimate security concerns that they have been supporting terrorist organizations, and there are also export restrictions on defense products.
Every concession Turkey wins from the situation will likely isolate it further in NATO circles, but will win President Erdogan political points at home, something he will welcome as Turkey heads towards presidential elections next year.
Let's get more then on that meeting between the Turkish Foreign Minister and the US Secretary of State. Ines Pol is our Washington Bureau Chief. Welcome, Ines. How did the meeting go?
Well, when Finland and Sweden signaled they were thinking of making the historic decision joining NATO, the alliance expected a tough response from Moscow, not from one of its own. So ever since Turkey raised conditions for accepting the membership, the rest of NATO was actually really irritated and pretty outspoken about it. However, we hear from today's meeting between the foreign minister of Turkey and Biden's national security advisor Blinken that both sides are on a path to find an agreement, but at this point they don't mention the specifics.
Right. So what's in it? What does Turkey want out of this meeting then?
Right, so Ankara's main demands are for the Nordic countries to halt support for Kurdish militant groups present on the Nordic territory, and they also want them to lift their bans on some sales of arms to Turkey. Erdogan is obviously using the current war in Ukraine to raise his case, as he knows how important it is for NATO to stay united against Vladimir Putin. Plus, Erdogan is also facing an election within his own country, and his polls are really down, so he definitely wants to show strength to his own people.
Yeah, and this is not his first argument with NATO allies, so clearly he's not bothered about his country being isolated within the alliance.
Well, I wouldn't go so far, but I think it is fair to say that he is often playing kind of both sides. What do I mean with that? For example, he fights with Russia in Syria on the one hand, but supports Ukraine against Putin's army. So why does he do that? Because he wants to be seen as kind of an indispensable mediator, which allows him, after all, to keep doing business with everyone he wants to.
So do we think then, is the thinking that Turkey will really stop Sweden and Finland from joining NATO, or will a deal be done?
Well, at this point, the US is very confident that they will reach a settlement. And there seems, actually, I mean, from my understanding, being here in Washington and reporting about the White House, there seems no way that NATO really would give Erdogan this power. And I think it is pretty possible that we know more after Biden met with the presidents of Sweden and Finland tomorrow here in Washington at the White House.
Thank you for that, Ines. Ines Pohl in Washington.